Hey, um, welcome to our Intro to Ethics class. I'm Carter Johnson. I'm the instructor. Um, I'll be recording these video lectures since our class got unexpectedly changed to online um, because of the pandemic. What I want to do in this lecture is, first of all, tell you why I think it's worth studying ethics in the first place. Why bother reading what all these people think about ethics? Why not just go with what you believe? And then I want to go over some of the main concepts that we're going to use. Um, I'm going to do some other thing, maybe another video lecture, where I talk about the handouts for the argument stuff, because that matters for the extraction assignments that you're going to have. But for now, we'll just do an intro lecture. So why do ethics? Why read all this stuff and write all these papers about something that everybody's doing anyway, you know? Well, I think of it kind of like um, one of the sciences that makes our life better. So there's lots of sciences where the goal is to improve human life, to organize human life so that it's not so random and hectic and confused. You think about nutrition science. We could just go around trial and error. Oh, that's food. Let me try that and see if it's good for me. Oh, there's food. Let me see if that's good for me. But that has costs, right? For one thing, when you're doing trial and error, you can make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes they can be really costly. Like in nutrition, you could poison yourself, if you made a mistake. And then, plus, it just takes a lot of time. It's a huge waste of time to have to figure everything out every time by trial and error. If you have like rules of thumb, heuristics, principles, saves you a lot of time because you start with those. You don't have to restart every time you encounter a new thing. In nutrition science, you've got like, well, I know I need protein, I know I need vitamins, that kind of stuff. And that can help you. You don't have to, if you see spinach for the first time, you don't have to say, oh, it's totally strange food. I don't know if it's going to be good for me. You can say, well, I know it has iron in it. I know it has these vitamins, whatever. So nutrition science makes life easier by systematizing it, getting rid of trial and error, minimizing mistakes, minimizing time wasted. And I think of ethics kind of like that, except for right and wrong instead of nutritious or non-nutritious. So the point of ethics, one point of ethics anyway, is that it's supposed to give us principles we can follow so that life is more systematized. So it's not always random and wild and you have no idea what's going on. If you study ethics, you've got these specialists who've thought a lot about it and they've come up with principles that you can live by, so that you can start out with some rules of thumb. So that's why. That's why I think it's worth studying for anybody. But how to start? What do you do? Well, I'm going to start us with some concepts that I think you'll find in all the readings we're going to have, in other readings that you might have in other classes. Just some really basic ethical concepts. I'm going to do what might sound too ambitious. I'm going to try to define for you, give you a complete, adequate definition of right and wrong and good and bad. And you might think, well, there's no way you can do that. People argue about that all the time. I think I can. Really, it's kind of a trick, actually, because I'm just going to give you what I think of as the definitions of the words right and wrong and good and bad. I'm just going to give you the categories, right? I'm going to set up these boxes for you. And then most of the class is talking about what should go in the boxes. So I'm not going to tell you today which things are right and which things are wrong or good and bad. I'm just going to tell you what are we even looking for when we try to find out whether something is right and wrong. So here's what I think. I think actions are right. We say you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. So first of all, we're talking about actions. And second of all, what makes them right or wrong actions, I think, is whether they conform to some kind of rule or standard or guideline. So you think about if you bought furniture at IKEA, you take it home, you get it out of the box, it comes with a manual. And you can follow the manual and put it together. Then like all the chair legs will be lined up like they're supposed to. The shelves will be all straight and evenly spaced. Or you can just wing it. But if you wing it, you risk, having like the chair legs any which way and the shelves just falling off. If you follow the manual, you're going to do it right. You're going to put the furniture together the way the manual says to do it. If you don't, you risk putting it together wrong. What makes it wrong? Well, you're not putting it together according to the guide, right? According to the pattern that's in the manual. So that's all there is to right and wrong, the concepts, in my opinion. Good and bad, I think the best way to define that is just to say something's good if, when it's added to the world, it makes the world better. And something's bad if, when you add it to the world, it makes the world worse. So if you took two worlds, right, you can pick whichever one you want to be in. And I say, well, this one has ice cream, this one doesn't. You're going to say, oh, I prefer the ice cream one. Well, that's all it means for ice cream to be good, is that you prefer the world that has ice cream in it, If I give you two worlds and I say, well, this one's got, I don't know, in this one you're going to stub your toe, and in this one you're not. You'd say, oh, well, I prefer the one where I don't stub my toe. So that's all it means for stubbing your toe to be bad, is that you'd prefer a world without it to a world with it. Right? So that's all. I have this little whiteboard I'm going to use when I have main points I want you to remember. So that's all I'm taking these terms to mean. An action is right if it conforms to a standard, and it's wrong if it fails to conform to a standard. And something is good if, when you put it into the world, it makes the world preferable. And something is bad if, when you put it into the world, it makes the world less preferable than a world that doesn't have it in it. I want to give you two other terms that are going to come up a lot. Instrumental value and non-instrumental value. So these are two kinds of value. We're usually going to be talking about goodness. So whether something's instrumentally good or non-instrumentally good. What do we mean? Well, something has instrumental value if it has value because it leads to something else. And something has non-instrumental value if it has value for its own sake, not for the sake of something else. So, give you an example. Brushing your teeth. I would guess most, if not all people, brush their teeth because they have to, not because they enjoy it, You brush your teeth because it's good for your teeth. It keeps them clean, keeps them in your mouth instead of falling out. You wouldn't do it if it didn't lead to those good results. That's because it only has instrumental value. It only has value because it's a means to keeping your teeth healthy. But health itself, being healthy instead of being unhealthy, that has value for its own sake. So, people say sometimes, well, at least you've got your health. And what do they mean? They mean, even if everything else is going wrong, you've got this one good thing in your life. That's because health has non-instrumental value. It's valuable for its own sake. You would want to be healthy even if it didn't lead to anything else good, right? So that's instrumental value. That's non-instrumental value. Now, why are we talking about these concepts? Because they come up so much. So all the theories we're going to look at, they have ideas about what's right and what's wrong. They have different rules that they think you're supposed to follow so that your actions will be right. So again, they're all interested in the boxes, and they have different ideas of what you should put in them. And they all have pretty strong ideas about what's non-instrumentally good. So they're going to disagree about that. They're going to think that different things are valuable for their own sake. So it's really useful to have these concepts in mind as you go through the theories we're going to look at. It'll help you organize them, see where they agree, see where they disagree. So those are the main concepts for this lecture. Be sure to look at what the assignments are for the week. Be sure to email me or come to my digital office hours if you have any questions. I'm looking forward to the rest of the class. I think it's going to be really fun, and it's a subject I'm really excited about. So I'll see you soon. Bye.